The Vegas Golden Knights have done it once again. Another in-season major trade. This time they're getting Rasmus Andersson from the Calgary Flames for Zach Whitecloud, a defensive prospect, Abram Weeb, a conditional first-round pick in 2027 draft, and a conditional second-round pick in the 2028 draft. I'll check out the conditions in a second. But once again, joining the likes of Jack Eichel, former teammate of Rasmus Andersson, in Calgary, now joining in Vegas, Noah Hannafin. We got Robin Lehner. I think Max Pacioretty is a Mark Stone. Vegas continue to keep making their team better as the season goes on. One key thing about this trade, though, is no contract extension. It was in place for Rasmus Andersson, which was a big thing that maybe scared off some teams that were looking to acquire him as well. But once again, Vegas, who are leading the Pacific Division, have just upgraded a little bit more defensively after a little bit of a slow start to the year for their standards, because the Pacific Division is weak as hell this year.
Oh, yeah. And obviously now they're leading the Pacific Division, which is not impressive by any standpoint. But overall, someone has to win that division. And right now, the Vegas Golden Knights have taken a commanding lead over that because they have games in hand as well over the second place Edmonton Oilers. And they're also a few points ahead. They're also top 10 in the NHL in points. Obviously, they're like 8th. But you're looking at it, the Vegas Golden Knights. You're not looking at the Pacific Division. You're looking at the outlook of the Western Conference in general, and you're looking at how can the question is, how can we beat the Colorado Avalanche? How can we compete with the Stars and obviously the Minnesota Wild, who added Quinn Hughes recently?
Yeah.
So those are the questions that the Vegas Golden Knights had, and those are the questions that need to be answered, and they did that a little bit by adding Rasmus Andersson, because now when you have Shea Theodore and Braden McNabb playing together, and now you have Hannafin and Rasmus Andersson playing together. When you're looking at that as a top 4, you're looking at, okay, that's a top 4 that can compete with the likes of Colorado, Minnesota, and the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
Those are the conversations that need to be had.
The one good thing for them, and this is a discussion we're going to have a different day because I want to have this discussion, because the stupid playoff format, they avoid one of those teams off the bat. They avoid, I think, two of the teams off the bat.
What do you mean? They avoid all.
No, because as of right now, Dallas is set up to play Minnesota.
Yeah, so they
avoid one that, and they're gonna avoid 2 out of the 3 teams.
Yeah,
I meant to say that. I meant to say 2 instead of 1.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this team, sorry, I was just pulling up the line combos here. Yes, the Pacific Division hasn't been great. Listen, it was gonna take some time for Mitch Marner to get used to certain things. Like obviously there are like screenshots of like, he's not a point a game guy here, blah blah blah, and like, look what the Leafs are doing ever since they fired Mark Schwartz, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, yes, the Pacific Division has been relatively pedestrian this year. At one point, Vegas was the top of the division. I mean, they're still the top of the division, but they were 13th in the NHL. And like you said it perfectly. At the end of the day, yes, is Edmonton going to be a tough out? 100%. Connor McDavid's on a heater right now. Like, if it wasn't for Macklin Celebrini, those two are right now head-to-head. Maybe throw in McKinnon. I guess you could throw in as well Sorokin as head-to-head for the Hart Trophy. But, like, even like Edmonton has downgraded from last year. It's just that McDavid took a massive step, even further step this year, because at the beginning of the year, he was very slow. So, yes, it was going to take a little bit of time, in my opinion, to get these guys used to it. Even with that, they're still afloat in the division. They're going to have the second wildcard team. And at this moment, that is looking like, I think it's the Sharks, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just pulling it up right now.
It is Sharks at the moment.
It is Sharks at the moment. So that should be a relatively easy matchup for them when it comes to playoff time. Although, shout out to the Sharks, they making moves and how much of a step they took. But when it comes to the Vegas side of things, what's their identity at the end of the day when it comes to off the ice? Make their team better one way or another and figure out the rest later. They'll figure out the Rasmus Andersson contract later. That's it. They're going to focus on winning now, and they'll do some cap gymnastics, trade some pieces off, whatever. We know how cutthroat of an organization they are. I don't even know how many of the Golden Misfits they have left. Like, is it like William Karlsson? They brought back Riley Smith. And is that it?
Yeah.
On the top of my head?
Theodore? Was Theodore?
I guess Theodore, yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day. Obviously, they addressed the goalie situation. And then, before I go to the goalie situation, the one thing they did address is, I'm not saying he's Alex Pietrangelo, Rasmus Andersson, but at least he fills some type of void that Pietrangelo will leave. I'm not saying he's this offensive guru or whatever, but he's still a steady enough NHL defenseman that he will take over that. He'll fit in like that for sure. Because losing Pietrangelo at the beginning of the year was a massive loss.
Yeah,
Let's
for
just
sure.
be real, right? And then obviously they ended up getting Carter Hart. Very, very, very controversial. I get that because Aiden Hill wasn't as good as he was when he won the Cup that year. Obviously, there's some question marks there. But overall, when you look at this Vegas team, I do not think that this is obviously a massive upgrade. I think they're gonna find their footing. I believe right now they were on a decent enough streak. I believe. They were 7-2 7-2-1 in their last 10. So they're trending in the right direction. They're gonna obviously we'll see what happened during the Olympic break because they're gonna lose some players. But if you're for me to put a bow on the Vegas side of things, it's just another classic Vegas move, make an ad, and hopefully since they're winning the Cup, their disappointing playoff woes come to an end this year.
Yeah, when you're looking at just Cup contending teams, I just personally look at do they have two lines, and they do. They have Eichel, Barbashev, Marner, Stone, Dorofeev, and Riley Smith.
At the moment, but
Yeah.
that's with William Karlsson being injured.
And that's with William Karlsson being
yeah.
out. So, like, yeah, they have two lines. Do they have two pairings? They have that now, too, by adding in Rasmus Andersson. Again, goaltending is the question mark. I'm a little bit iffy about it. But we've seen Aiden Hill step up. And then if, obviously, before all the chaos, Carter Hart was playing decently.
Yeah.
And then, as controversial as that is, Carter Hart is a talented goalie at the end of the day. So we'll see who fills in the role there. But overall, in my opinion, like when you're looking at Cup contending status, the Vegas Golden Knights are right there. And this just, solidified it for them by adding in Rasmus Andersson. And also what solidifies it for them, it helps solidify it for them, is they are playing in the Pacific Division, who also house literally the worst team in the NHL in the Vancouver Canucks, who themselves made a trade, which we're going to talk about as well.
Yeah, so before we move on to the Calgary side of things very quickly here, I want to ask, so where does Vegas rank now? Colorado's by far and away number one.
Colorado's one, yeah.
Dallas has
Well,
been
just
struggling.
focus on the West, yeah.
Yeah. Dallas has been struggling in the recent stretch as well at the moment. Minnesota's picked it back up now.
They were 500 last 10, was it not?
Not like, what do you mean, like 500 when they got Hughes, or?
Just their last stretch.
Last 10 games, they were, where did it go? Wild card, here we go. 4-4-2. Literally the soccer formation.
So basically 500, yeah.
But they're 28, 14, and 9 overall. But again, they're literally right there with the Stars. They have they're tied with the Stars in terms of points. The Stars have a game in hand. That's all it is at the moment. But obviously, they're at the minimum 4. I have no head about Edmonton. I mean, do you agree with that? Or
Yeah, for sure.
So it depends on where do you have them in the top 3, or do you have them at 4 firmly? Because I feel like Minnesota is there, but their lack of center depth is a concern. And Dallas has been very streaky team this year.
Yeah, the thing with Dallas is like Dallas also win the big series at the end of the day. So, and I'm gonna take obviously you're looking at this season, but with Dallas, I'm gonna look at the last few years. They beat Vegas, which was a tough first round matchup a couple years ago, and last year they beat Colorado, which was another tough first round matchup. So I'll go with Colorado 1, obviously. That for that reason, I'm gonna give Dallas the edge at 2. I'm actually putting Vegas at 3 ahead of Minnesota at the moment.
Fair. Yeah, I'll agree with that at the moment, but I could see an argument of Minnesota
100%, yeah.
Dallas.
But like at the end of the day, when it's gonna come down to it, like it should be coming down to these 4 teams, especially in the Western Conference, and one of these 4 teams should be representing the Western Conference in the Stanley Cup
but
final.
again, it's dumb because one of the Central teams as of right now should be out in the first round. So
Yeah.
it's realistically they're not going to be the final 4 Western Conference teams.
They're not gonna be the final 4 Western Conference
Edmonton's
team.
going to have
Yeah.
a say in that as well.
But
But yeah,
one of those 4 should be the final Western Conference team.
exactly. But on the Calgary side of things, again, just they're second last. Obviously, your prediction looks a little bit wrong with how they were at the year. They had some good stretches. Obviously, a lot of bad stretches. They're not going to be as bad as the Vancouver Canucks.
I mean, I had them in the right spot.
No, you had them.
I don't know how to make the playoffs.
Not making the playoffs, but you had them like higher than like certain teams that we did. Like you were super low on the Ducks, for example, who I know are struggling as of late. But I'm just saying in that sense. Pretty sure that you were a little bit higher on them because you were wrong on Calgary last year. I was still like Calgary's dead last, but I was obviously wrong because that's the Canucks.
You're still wrong on that.
But I was still close enough that they're going to be at the bottom. Anyways, they're again just moving off of pieces, right? It was the worst kept secret that Rasmus Andersson was not going to extend wherever he went. He wanted to be a Golden Knight anyways. Golden Knights got the job done. We got that. For them, it's just another rebuilding phase. Hopefully, Zane Parekh takes another step this year. Obviously, he needs to work a little bit more on the defensive side of the game, maybe. For him, like had a really good World Juniors. The next guy I'm looking at is let's see what's happening with Nazem Kadri because I think as of recently I saw Montreal and Toronto being two places that where he could end up going. Nazem Kadri at the end of the day, a 2C in the NHL at his current cap hit should be fine. Yes, aging, I get that. There's still a couple of years left on his contract. But he's going to help a team that's either an emerging or at least in a playoff team at the moment, like how he did with Colorado before he got this big contract with Calgary overall.
Yeah, Calgary is just like, at the end of the day, you got a solid vet defenseman in Zach Whitecloud. You got picks in return, which is obviously...
I believe if Vegas wins the cup, it
will turn into a...
Yeah.
One of the conditions, if Vegas wins the cup, it will turn into a first round pick. So, obviously, and the Vegas Golden Knights do have a chance of winning the cup, that's for sure. So, yeah, Calgary was just doing their business. At the end of the day, like you said, Rasmus Andersson was going to go, and obviously, you got to get something in return for him, and you got a decent little package in for that, obviously. So, that's... Again, a much needed move for Calgary just because of the status they're in, which is obviously rebuild and retool, whatever you want to call it. The Canucks freaking GM and Patrick Allvin uses so many different phrases, but the good news is that even him and the Canucks organization are realizing that they need to rebuild. And Rasmus Andersson was number 2 in the trade board. Number 1 was Kiefer Sherwood, who has moved on to the San Jose Sharks.
So Kiefer Sherwood is officially a San Jose Shark for 2 seconds, and I don't want to say prospect. He's 25-year-old minor leaguer in
AHLer. No,
AHL, I forget his name. I just saw it on Twitter right now.
Minor leaguers in baseball, but yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still the Cole Clayton. Because the reason why I'm saying I saw it right here is he's already did something for Abbotsford. But yeah, a guy that hasn't played in the NHL yet, 25-year-old. I don't know if he's going to scratch the Canucks roster. I think this is a lot more for contract fit as well. We'll see what ends up happening. But the primary thing was Kiefer Sherwood was number 1 on the trade board. He was probably the most coveted he's probably the most coveted trade deadline target because of his cap hit.
Artemi Panarin.
True, yeah. We talked about the Rangers in the last video. He's officially going to be on the trade board. But I'm saying in terms of cap hit as well, right? And Canucks were looking for a first. They weren't getting it. Again, I don't blame the Canucks for getting it first.
It was a dream, yeah.
Yeah.
But they got the next best thing.
And which was 2 seconds, 1 for this year and 1 for next year. For the Canucks, they need to get as many assets as they could possibly get to help their current, how long this rebuild is going to take. Because they are the worst team in the NHL and they should be getting a top 3 pick this year anyways. But for Kiefer Sherwood and what it means for the San Jose Sharks, 2 things. 1, if the Sharks make the playoffs, this shows that, hey, we're rewarding you guys. This shows Macklin Celebrini, who's up for an extension. We're rewarding you for what you're doing. Because in my opinion, love Connor McDavid, what he's doing. Don't get me wrong. In the conversation for Hart. But if the Sharks somehow make the playoffs with this roster, Macklin Celebrini is my Hart Trophy winner.
Which is
crazy because at the end of the day, yes, McDavid is far and away ahead in points amongst his team, but he has a Draisaitl. This guy, second, I think, leading scorer is Wenberg, and it's like a 40-point gap or something like that. And Macklin Celebrini, for me, is going to be the Hart favorite in that sense if they make the playoffs. But it's showing a reward like, hey, we're getting you a guy that when it comes in playoff time, and if you do get in, is not only a good teammate, but he'll get the hits. And this year he has proven that he scores. Yes, was his shooting percentage really high to start the year, and it kind of died down a little bit and picked it up back before he got injured? 100%. But again, I don't know if he's going to play on the top line with Macklin Celebrini or if he's going to play bottom 6. But you know what you're getting from Kiefer Sherwood. There's a reason why Quentin Hughes said to the Canucks, go get this guy after the Nashville playoffs, because that's how he has been tormenting in the forward check. And he's found his offensive game, and the story he had being undrafted and all that, finding his way is really good. And the Canucks obviously had to trade him because they had no reason to keep him because of what they are.
His type of player is like what every playoff team looks for.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I am surprised that like a little bit more like a team that could like more that was in contending status wasn't more aggressive and like okay.
I think
look, if Sherwood is like the perfect third liner, perfect middle 6 player for any contending team for who's going to win the cup. So obviously, and judging by the packages like Danault went for and Marchment went for, you're like, okay, yeah, this guy will definitely net it first. Again, I am not shocked that he didn't get first. Don't get me wrong, and I'm definitely very happy with the return that the Canucks got for Kiefer Sherwood. But I just felt a little bit surprised that like one team didn't go that aggressive for him.
I agree with you because of the cap hit.
Yeah, and also the cap hit. Yeah, it's not gonna hurt anything. But when you're looking at the San Jose Sharks, again, they are ahead of the schedule. Nobody expected him to be in a playoff spot this year, and that's just a job that comes down to Macklin Celebrini and what he's been doing and carrying, and obviously Askarov.
Oh,
but
shout
overall,
out to Delkovich, by the way.
oh yeah, and the goalie fight, yeah. So this guy also probably, Nedeljkovic had like one of the worst goalie moments in the first game, and now he has also had one of the best goalie moments here. But going back to Sherwood and what he brings is simple. He brings physicality, he brings a forward check, and this year, like you said, he brings goal scoring. So when you look at it, this guy could play anywhere. It doesn't have to be Macklin Celebrini. It could be literally in the third line. It could be in the second line, wherever he is. This guy's just gonna bring that intensity, and that's what it. He's also gonna not just bring the intensity, but he's also gonna show and teach these players that this is what
hard work does.
This is what hard work does. One, but also this is what playoff hockey is gonna look like.
Yeah. So like for me, it's like like you said, like story is good. He was an undrafted guy. He made it to the league, took a step further, and then the Canucks gave him the opportunity to even elevate his game even more. Reason why I love this fit for the Sharks, listen, there was no extension in place. So it is going to be concerning that you gave that 2 seconds for a guy that's not going to come back. I feel like he should resign and will resign. He does have, a child on the way as well, which is a big reason why he thanked the Canucks for doing the trade now, because come April, his life's going to be hectic, especially if you make the playoffs. So for me, you have Tyler Toffoli. That's the type of vet you need for your top 6 guy. You got a vet for your bottom 6 type guy who could play in the top 6 when need be. I love the fit in general. Like, he's a fit on any team.
He's a fit on any team.
He's a perfect fit here, in my opinion, because he'll help mold the young guys. He did that with the Canucks. I think it was Braden Coots, and I forget another guy. He said, like, who was the guy that kind of like took you in right away during the training camps and all that stuff? They answered it was Kiefer Sherwood. And another young team, he could help help William Eklund on the wing. Obviously, he could still help Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, and all these guys as a guy who's coming in. Because at the end of the day, hey, we watch Shorzy. Hard work pays off, all right? It's not the talent. You have to give the effort and hard work, and who better to set the example for than Kiefer Sherwood? So that's the Sharks side of things. I do love it. Will they ultimately get to the playoffs? I hopefully believe they will. I can't say with a guaranteed spot, but where does this rank them ultimately in that Western Conference at the moment? Their defense still needs to upgrade a little bit more, in my personal opinion, but obviously we know it's Vegas. We know it's Edmonton. Have they surpassed Anaheim this year? Have they surpassed the Ducks? The Kings this year.
Well, the Kings
and the Kraken.
Well, they're ahead of the Kraken. They're ahead of, like, it's going to be a close race for the third spot here. And with this move, it showed that they're serious to make it in that third spot. The Kings don't look great. The Ducks are not the Ducks from the beginning of the year.
And Nashville's right there too with the hot stretch they've been on since the start of the year.
Well, yeah, because
you got to look at the wild card spot.
You got to look at that is true. So,
I mean, they're right now only 2 games. They're 2 points behind the game in hand on Anaheim.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, like it does. Like honestly, like I could see this team being the 3rd team in the Pacific Division.
If I'm gonna put them somewhere, I will slightly put them behind Anaheim still. But I might put them ahead of the Kings, the way the Kings have not been looking great as of late as well. But that's the Sharks side of things. We're not going to go on a tangent here. We'll make a separate Canucks video because we have a lot to say about this team. But they're clearly obviously focusing on a rebuild now. But they only did 2 obvious moves. 1, Quinn Hughes didn't want to stay. You took the best possible package for that. 2, Sherwood had to be moved. 1, he got injured. You don't want to risk keeping him and all that. And you did right by him to move him now to a good situation as well. So next up for this team the question is the vets. Obviously, can Evander Kane be traded? We'll see because he's a UFA. Teddy Blucher just came back and they beat Washington finally for the first time in 11. Winning a game, not just Washington, in 11 games by beating the Capitals today. So what's next for this team? They need to just sell assets. Obviously, there's talks about Pettersson's value being up because of lack of centers available, the talent of Pettersson. Is he going to waive his new move clause is the big question. Or are they going to move him? Obviously, we got Jake DeBrusk. The problem with the Canucks at the moment is they have a lot of contracts that have
no move clause,
no trade clauses, whatever. They don't control full destiny outside of Connor Garland before July 1st and Thatcher Demko, who's injured, so I doubt he's going to get moved. Connor Garland is good on any team. On this team, the Sharks team as well, it's a good fit for me as well. Because, again, for $6 million, that's a good player. Obviously, I know cap-wise, you got to figure certain things out. But he was a good guy on a young team that is also a playoff-bound team and can help elevate being a locker room guy. I would have loved Connor Garland to come to the Sharks as well, or the Ducks or wherever. So we'll see what ends up happening.
So when what I'm looking at from the Canucks perspective is they've done the obvious moves, but if they're really serious about it, can they do something by trading people with term? Because
Connor
obviously,
Garland,
like
Philip
the next one you're looking at obviously is probably Evander Kane,
Teddy
obviously,
Blueger.
and Teddy Blueger because they're UFAs, which makes sense. But if you're looking at it, if they're really going to take it serious, it's going to be moving a guy like Petey or Besser or DeBrusque or Garland. Because, and or Hronek, yeah. So
even Myers, like there's options there.
Exactly. So that's how you'll know that they're fully serious and committed to this. Obviously, in terms of losing, they have done that. So in that sense, they have given themselves a cushion as being the worst team in the NHL by like six points.
Yeah,
I would say. I think the St. Louis Blues are at 46.
because they also just won against the Capitals right now.
So in that sense, that is true. In terms of asset acquirement, they have done a good job. They have 2 first-round picks this year and 2 second-round picks this year. And if they finish last, the second-round pick technically is a first-round pick because Ottawa is forfeited. Yeah. So they would have 3 picks on the top 32, which is obviously really good in terms of asset collection and draft capital.
And being bad.
And just sucking, yeah.
But yeah, and overall with the Canucks, there's a lot of question marks there. They need to move, in my opinion, move off of Adam Foote. Again, we'll make a whole proper video on it later. But you have players, yes, outside of, you have to still do your due diligence to see what good trade offer you can get. You cannot overvalue players, especially guys with no move clauses and no trade clauses. If there's a decent enough, I'm not saying guys have to go at the level of JT Miller for guys like Philip Hronek, Connor Garland, Patterson, and all that. But if you get something better to get off of cap hit, get some assets in return that you could maybe, if you get players you could try to flip, all that, great. At the end of the day, it comes down to the players, especially those that have no move clauses kicked in. If they want to leave or not, that's a whole different situation. You can't control that. But yes, keep fielding calls. But you cannot be like how the Sherwood situation. You have to get his agent involved because you just want to bounce off the first round pick. At the end of the day, they had to get off of it to get 2 seconds. Worked out still fine. It's the next best thing to get 1 first round pick. But you cannot overvalue these players, especially guys that are struggling. There's no proper culture set, and the guys that have no move clauses and trade protections and all that on it as well. But that's a wrap for the Canucks type of things. So we have two big trades that happened this week. So comment down below. We want to hear your reactions of where do these they're all Pacific Division teams. Where do these all 4 Pacific Division teams rank now in the Pacific Division?
Well, we know one is.
We know where one is.
Yeah.
But we're and kind of know where Calgary is.
We know where
mainly we're asking you where does Vegas and where does San Jose rank in the Pacific and in the Western Conference overall. Will the Sharks make the playoffs this year? We'd like to hear your comments down below. Please hit the subscribe button. We keep dropping content for you guys lately, weekly. And make sure you guys check us out by hitting the subscribe button, post notification bell, because we have the Olympics coming up as well. Road to 200 subscribers. We would love to get there by the end of that. We appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.